Best wonder kid from every country in Europe, 21 and under, going A to Z. Gonna keep the intro nice and snappy today, ladies and gents. We've got 50 countries to go through, so let's not waste any time. Albania, Armin Dermisi, Juventus. Starting off with Albania, we have Armin Dermisi. The 17-year-old striker is currently the crown jewel of the Juventus Primavera system, and after his €1 million move from Slovenian side Koper, he's been absolutely lethal in Italy, racking up 13 goals and 7 assists in his debut season with the Juve under-20s. He's that classic modern number 9, physically imposing but with the technical touch to drop deep and link play. He's already being integrated into Albania's under-21s, and honestly, it's only a matter of months before he's leading the line for the senior national team. There are a couple of older talents I could have gone for, but it's pretty clear to me that Dermisi has the highest ceiling of all of them, and he'll surely be leading Albania's next generation. Andorra, Ivan Rodriguez, Villarreal. For Andorra, it's Ivan Rodriguez. This is a massive story for the tiny nation, a product of the Gymnastic Maresa Academy who impressed so much at FC Andorra that Villarreal snapped him up on loan with an obligation to buy. He's a 19-year-old left-back who's already a veteran with 36 senior matches in the Spanish third tier. He's currently a starter for Villarreal B in the Primera RFEF, and with his incredible turn of pace and neat crossing ability, he's the first Andorran in a generation with a genuine path to La Liga. Considering Andorra barely even qualified to be on this list, I have to say, I'm pretty happy Ivan Rodriguez exists, because otherwise I would have been picking some random dude playing in the Andorran First Division, which isn't exactly known for its high quality of football. For this next country, I just want to apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. There's going to be a lot of those in this video. Anyways, Armenia, Georgi Harutyunyan, Pushkas Academia. In a footballing sense, Armenia is chiefly known for its talented attacking midfielders, particularly Henrik Mkhitaryan and even Edward Spurtsian for those with a little bit of ball knowledge. But for my pick, I'm going with 21-year-old center back Harutyunyan, who provides some defensive depth for a country historically lacking in it. Already penning 28 senior caps for Armenia, a country of a massive foreign diaspora, Harutyunyan, who's born in Russia, is a defensive rock and 6'3" beast in the air. He's so far played 19 times this season for a Pushkas Academia side, currently tied for the 4th best defensive record in the Hungarian top flight. And while he's a center back by trade, his technical ability is high enough that he's regularly deployed as a defensive midfielder or even a left back, proving he's far more than just a traditional clear defender. Austria, Samson Beydu Arsilons. Austria is a tale of two talents really, with the choice boiling down to the brilliant form and all-round ability of center back Samson Beydu versus the technical talent and not yet realized potential of number 10 Paul Vanner. I've decided to go with the 21-year-old center back on this occasion, given the incredible nature of the season he's been having, as Lens take on PSG for the Ligue title in a battle that sees the Northern City punch far above its weight. Truthfully, while Lens have been brilliant across the pitch, it's really been the 3 men down back in the 5-2-3 formation that have been the standouts this season. Operating in the middle of a trio, Beydu has been paired alongside Malang Sarr and Ismailo Ganyo in the defense that has only conceded 17 goals this season, 2 less than PSG. Not only that, but Beydu has been the standout of the bunch. A giant at 6'3", Beydu wins over 70% of his aerial duels, and alongside his recovery pace and bravery in a high defensive line for Lens, it's a profile that sees him often dubbed the Austrian Upamecano. Lens brought Beydu in at a steal for €8 million from Austria, and despite a recent hamstring injury sustained in Lens' 3-1 win over Rennes recently, that'll keep him out for a few weeks, I have no doubt that the French club will be able to more than quadruple their investment on the Austrian center-back. Azerbaijan, Nariman Akhundzadeh, Columbus Crew. One of the easiest decisions in this list so far, Nariman, I'm just going to call him by his first name from now on, is the only 21 and under Azeri player to be a regular starter for his national team. Playing as either a center forward, but more commonly a left-footed inside forward on the right, Nariman has just recently completed a €2.5 million transfer to Columbus Crew in the MLS. This comes off the back of an impressive career for his boyhood club, Karabag, where he's contributed 19, 23, and halfway through his current season, 10 goal involvements in his last 3 years for the Azeri Giants. At the age of 21, it's no wonder why the MLS outfit made Nariman the most expensive Azeri player ever, acquiring him under the U22 initiative, which tells us exactly how highly they value his potential. He's been clocked at a top speed of 32.15 kilometers per hour. He loves to run at defenders, and he has that clutch gene. Never forget his 122nd minute winner against Braga in the 2024 Europa League, all making him the exciting prospect that he is. Belgium, Mika Götze Ajax. First of the biggies, and in stark contrast to Azerbaijan, the hardest decision yet. The list of Belgian Wonderkids is almost as long as this list itself. Malik Fofana, Mike Penders, Diego Moreira, Lax Stassen, Dorothy Mukio, These guys are all playing consistent football in Europe's biggest leagues. There's also Joachim Sees and Nathan the Cat, who I just want to give a special shout out to because they're both crucial players for their respective Belgian sides at the age of just 17. Although I'm afraid this list has come a bit too soon for them. However, despite all that talent, there are two names that stand out above and beyond for me, and that's Arthur Vermeeren and Mika Götze. Both highly technical players, Vermeeren, a midfielder, looks to get on the ball deep in order to progress play up the pitch, either with his range of passing or dribbling skills, whereas Götze is a classic inverted left winger who possesses amazing one-on-one dribbling and close control in tight areas, allowing him to cut inside and release shots on goal. He's racked up 12 goals and 9 assists so far for Ajax this season. Unfortunately for Vermeeren, the 21-year-old has found a very strange time in recent years, moving clubs 3 times in just 3 seasons. That's almost a club a season if you do the math on that. Any player would find it difficult to create consistency in those kind of circumstances then, especially a 21-year-old. And I do fear that's exactly what happened, with the RB Leipzig man having a very mixed season so far from Marseille to date. On the flip side, anyone who watched my Breakout Stars of 2026 video will know how much I love Mika Götze, and the 20-year-old's current form this season for Ajax just cannot be ignored. If you want to see more in-depth analysis on him, I'd recommend watching that video, because for now we're just going to have to keep it short and snappy. Mika Götze it is. Bulgaria, Rosen Bozanov, Pisa. Not short on solid options, I was tempted by Bozanov's international teammate and fellow centre-back Martin Georgiev, who came through Barcelona's youth ranks, as well as Feyenoord's young goalkeeper Plamen Andreev. However, in truth, neither of these players really came close to Bozanov. After completing a successful breakout season for Belgian side Royal Antwerp, in which he made 15 starts, the 21-year-old made the move to Serie A side Pisa in January for €5 million, making him the most expensive Bulgarian in the history of the sport. An aerial giant at 6'4", the Bulgarian is a very modern defender, both possessing the ability to play out from the back with his highly coveted left foot, as well as the ability to use his long legs to cover space in behind. A rare shining light in the Bulgarian football recently, he's so far started 3 of his 4 appearances for the new club, attempting to help Pisa climb out of the relegation zone. Belarus, Trofim Melnichenko, Porto. Wow. I really thought I was going to struggle with Belarus, but alas, I've been left off easy this time. That's chiefly because of the emergence of the 19-year-old Belarusian phenomenon Trofim Melnichenko, the savior of this video. Okay, maybe I'm going a little strong there, but Melnichenko is actually pretty good. At the age of 18, before joining Porto in January 2025 for €380,000, the forward made 38 appearances and supplied 8 goal involvements for boyhood club Dinamo Minsk. A year on, the teenager has spent the bulk of his time in Porto's developmental B team, so far making 35 appearances in the Portuguese second division, providing 7 goal involvements. It should also be noted around 50% of those appearances in the first season were off the bench, as Porto B looked to share opportunities around for a multitude of young players, which somewhat deflated his numbers. Either way, this season, Melnichenko has nailed down his spot as a starter, which is an impressive notion as Porto B marks the next generation of the Portuguese Giants players, hinting that the club sees a lot in the teenager. On top of that, Melnichenko has already made 10 appearances for the Belarusian national team so far as the aging country looks to pin their future hopes on their wonderkid. Bosnia. Kerem Alejbegovic, RB Salzburg. An absolute no-brainer, Alejbegovic has been absolutely lighting up the Red Bull system this season. Not only is he a wonderkid relative to Bosnia's current crop of players, but he's just a genuine wonderkid in world football. At 18 years old, he's widely considered to be the best technical talent Bosnia has produced since Miralem Pjanic. By early 2026, he's already made his senior debut for Bosnia as a 17-year-old in 2025. I watched him recently in Salzburg's game against Aston Villa in the Europa League, and despite Salzburg barely having the ball, Alejbegovic's talents were absolutely there for everyone to see. I remember him receiving the ball in a tight space just inside his own half before producing an incredible skill to absolutely send one of the Villa defenders 3 yards the other direction. He's a versatile attacker playing left wing or attacking midfielder with a preference to drift onto the left-hand side, and he's great stats for his age, picking up 6 goals and assists in the Austrian Bundesliga and 2 goals and 1 assist in the Europa League so far this season. He's quite clearly a special talent, and I really wouldn't be surprised to see him playing for a team like Barcelona in 2 or 3 years once he really hones his abilities in the Salzburg setup. Cyprus. Georgios Nikolaos Angelopoulos, Ethnikos. Definitely the hardest country yet. Cyprus doesn't really have a standout like the others. I could have gone for Zanos Zava at Torino or Panagiotis Andreo at Omnia. However, I just settled on Angelopoulos, the only of the 3 to have a senior cap for Cyprus. The 21-year-old has played every minute for Ethnikos in the Cypriot First Division so far this season, with his manager deploying him both down back and in defensive midfield depending on the game. Ethnicos aren't doing very well this season, third bottom, but with 3 wins from the last 5, the tide could be turning. Apart from that, since there's not a whole lot to talk about here, and I'm a bit pressed for time, I'll keep this one snappy and move on. Croatia, Luka Vuskovic, HSV on loan from Spurs. Like Belgium in a lot of ways, Croatia has a massive list of potential players, and I've already done a deeper analysis on the star pick here in my Breakout Stars video. But unlike Belgium, the decision was relatively simple. Luka Vuskovic isn't a hidden gem anymore, guys. He's a world-class center back in the making, and I cannot stress enough to you how you should be investing in this guy. Aged 18, born February 2007, Vuskovic holds the defensive trifecta of aerially dominant, physically strong, and technically superb. On top of that, the guy is a goal scorer. With 7 league goals in his last loan spell at Westerlo and currently 4 in 19 for HSV, Vuskovic is a unique talent in the world of copy and paste Wonderkids. It speaks of the performances he's been putting on in Germany, with talks going around that the Croatian may actually never make a professional appearance for Spurs, with German giants Bayern Munich reportedly being very keen on the teenager. However, Spurs hold all the cards of a contract until 2030, and it looks unlikely he'll leave in my opinion. If you want to learn a bit more about the sensation, I'd check out that video I mentioned if you haven't already. Czech Republic, Dominik Pek, Young Boys, on loan from Slavia Prague. The Czech Republic is an annoying one, as a lot of my favorite picks for this country have just turned 22, including Spurs keeper Kinski and Liam Ford Karabek. It really ended up being a pick between the higher ceiling with Pek or a better player right now, which is Matej Sin. I ended up going with Pek, obviously, but the decision was splitting hairs, and it really just depends on what you prefer. Pek is currently on loan with Swiss side Young Boys with the option to buy from Slavia Prague for an undisclosed fee. Pek is a versatile 19-year-old, having played as an attacking midfielder, a little deeper in the midfield, and even left wing a few times this season. Young Boys have been managing his minutes, making 25 appearances this season mostly off of the bench, coming on against heavyweights like Aston Villa, Lille, and Stuttgart in the Europa League. He's a tactical, wiry playmaker who combines great passing accuracy with vision to execute defense-splitting passes from central areas. Despite his slight frame, his surprising 29.8 kilometers per hour top speed makes him a dynamic threat when driving the ball forward or transitioning into the final third. Denmark, Patrick Dorgu, Manchester United. The Danish Bale is what I've heard people call him recently, ever since his short-lived transition to the wing for United. And it's not super hard to see why. He had to fight off a lot of competition from the likes of Rooney Baharji and Noah Narti, who's just joined Lyon. And I have to say, if it weren't for Michael Carrick, it probably would have been one of the others. However, that Dorgu 7-game purple patch where he scored 3 and assisted 2 after finally being freed from the shackles of Amram's win-back system has clinched the top spot for me. Despite the injury he suffered during the March international break, keeping him out for the next 6 weeks, Dorgu has shown enough raw talent to suggest that he'll be back even stronger, potentially with a new home carved out for him on the flanks. Known for his athleticism and in particular his steering pace, as well as a really good dribbling ability, and clearly ball striking ability.
In that position, I just have to smash it because
Dorgu probably has the most raw talent out of any Danish player, 21 and under, and as a result, the highest ceiling. Also, given that not many players are playing as consistently as him at the stature of club like United, it's probably not fair to say he has the highest ability of all his competition as well. England, Ethan Nwaneri, Marseille on loan from Arsenal. Despite there being a raft of options for England as always, there hasn't been one overwhelming answer this time like the years gone by. In the end, it boiled down to 2 players for me, with those being Kobbie Mainoo and Ethan Nwaneri. It's becoming a bit of a theme so far in this video to choose the player of the higher ceiling when I've been faced with a tough choice, and I'll admit, this time is no different, so the 18-year-old Nwaneri it is. It genuinely has been such a tough call to make though, so I'm going to first off apologize to United fans who may feel rightly disgruntled. But to be fair to me, this season we've seen that Kobbie Mainoo's rise isn't exactly indestructible, whereas Nwaneri's progression has been more linear recently. Either way, I have a lot of explaining to do as to why I haven't picked a full-on England international. The first player born in 2007 to score in the Premier League, Nwaneri burst onto the scene last season at just 17, making 26 league appearances and 6 goal involvements for an Arsenal side pushing for the title. That alone is impressive enough and indicates that Nwaneri has a ceiling like no other in English football, but what also impresses me is Nwaneri's ambition and mental fortitude. The attacker has found it hard to get minutes so far this season under Arteta, and instead of sitting around in the city and club that he's comfortable at, Nwaneri wasted absolutely no time getting out to secure first-team minutes at a high level with a January loan move to Marseille. I think that shows ambition, if nothing else, and it's the kind of mentality that gets you that little bit further than the usual elite talent. But of course, talent is important as well, and that's certainly something Nwaneri has in abundance. He's an agile, left-footed attacker who excels at finding pockets of space between the lines. Rather than just keeping possession, he's constantly looking for positive line-breaking actions, whether through a quick 1v1 dribble or weighted through ball. Primarily operating as a number 10 or inverted right winger, his biggest strength on the ball is control in tight spaces, allowing him to swivel away from defenders and transition the team from midfield to attack in a single movement. He also recently scored an absolute brilliant solo goal in his debut for Marseille against league leaders RC Lens, and if you haven't already, I'd sincerely recommend checking it out. Estonia, Patrick Kirstal or Martin Chris Palberg, Cologne and Saint Etienne respectively. Okay, I'm sorry, I've cheated here. I said it was splitting hairs of the Czech Republic. Well, I can't even do that here. The margins are so fine between these two players, I've just gone with both of them. Deal with it. I'll give you a quick rundown on each, and I'll let you decide, my viewers. So first up, the youngest debutant in Estonian history. Kirstal is a pure technical 10, who left paid, give me a second here, Lena Miskond to join Cologne in the Bundesliga system. He loves to operate in the half spaces, averaging over 2.5 key passes per 90 during his breakout. If you like players who can pick a lock with a single through ball, Kirstal is your man. He's the brain of the national team for the next 15 years, but then you have the muscle. Palberg is a 6'2" powerhouse who just secured a massive move to Saint Etienne in France for 900,000 euros. He's coming off a ridiculous season where he bagged 15 goals in 25 games at Estonia, including a record-breaking hat-trick as a 16-year-old. He's got that explosive movement that reminds me of a young Rasmus Højlund. If Christo's the one making the pass, Palberg is the one smashing it into the roof of the net. So the choice is up to you. Finland, Juho Latinmäki, North Zealand. Beating out competition from Odo Ruopi and Matthias Siltanen, Latinmäki is the heir to Daniel Svensson at the Danish side, famed for producing elite prospects. Primarily playing at left back, the 19-year-old has that winger DNA, similar to Dorgu, making him a very promising modern attacking threat. He's already broken into the Finland senior national team, making his debut in that World Cup qualifier against Lithuania, and his stats at club level are starting to look great. In the first half of the 25-26 season, he managed 15 starts, bagged his first professional goal, and notched 2 assists. Pretty scary stuff, but what's scarier is his recovery pace. He's been clocked at over 31.5 kilometers per hour, meaning even if he's caught up high the pitch, he's almost impossible to beat on the break. He's recently signed a massive contract extension, keeping him in Denmark until 2030, but with the way he's playing, I'd be shocked if a top 5 league club doesn't come in for him sooner or later. France. Desiree Doué, PSG. France ought not to have been as easy as it was. However, it's a testament to the sheer talent of Desiree Doué that he gets in so comfortably over the likes of Ayoub Bouadi, Lenny Yoro, and Warren Zaire-Emery. The list of records and honors broken by the boy last season is just too long to list off, but I'll give you a couple standouts. In November 2025, Doué was officially crowned the Golden Boy, succeeding Lamine Yamal. He became the first French player to win the prestigious award since his international captain Kylian Mbappé, following a season where he recorded a staggering 16 goals and 16 assists in all competitions. On May 31st, 2025 in Munich, Doué delivered arguably the greatest individual performance in a UCL final. He became the first player in history to record 3 goal involvements in a single Champions League final, scoring twice and providing an assist in PSG's historic 5-0 thrashing of Inter Milan. At just 19 years old, he played a pivotal role in PSG securing the historic quadruple. He also picked up the Ligue 1 Young Player of the Year award along the way, cementing himself as the undisputed Prince of Petty. I think it's pretty clear then why Doué has picked up his umpteenth honor as my pick on this list. Not much more needs to be said. The fact is simple, the guy is already one of the best players in the world at just 20. Georgia, Saba Karabashvili Dinamo Tbilisi. So I asked my Georgian friend how to pronounce his name, and she said something like Karabashvili, but I'm not Georgian, so I'm just going to pronounce it the way I've said it. So anyways, there's actually quite a few good options for Georgia. However, I've decided to go for the player who I think has the highest ceiling rather than the highest pedigree in football right now, with that being Karabashvili, of course. At the age of just 16, the left back made history, becoming Georgia's youngest ever player to debut for the national team in a match against the Faroe Islands. Standing at 6 foot tall, he has a superb physical frame for his age. He's incredibly composed on the ball, often compared to Riccardo Calafiori for his ability to carry the ball out of defense and into the midfield, with him also possessing the ability to fill in at center back and midfield. This season at Dinamo Tbilisi, he's been their primary outlet for transitions, using his high-level crossing and vision to bypass midfields. Quite an achievement for a player who is now just 17. Just a couple weeks ago, Istanbul Başakşehir officially announced an agreement with Dinamo Tbilisi for his transfer, which he'll complete upon his 18th birthday. It's the first big move of the young Georgian's career, and I'll be interested to see if he can make a name for himself in Turkey. The crown jewel of an academy known for producing Kvaratskhelia and Mamardashvili, Georgia's western neighbors are seen as the perfect stepping stone for the left back despite interest from the likes of Real Madrid and Liverpool. Germany, Leonard Karl, Bayern Munich. Germany has unsurprisingly quite a few good options, but interestingly, they're all of similar quality in my opinion. So decision wasn't necessarily easy. Ultimately, I picked Leonard Karl, but I wouldn't blame you if you prefer the likes of Tom Bischoff, or Diogo Almala, or Pavlovic. It's probably the latter in this list that came closest in all honesty, but just like a lot of other close calls so far, I picked ceiling over current ability. That is, I think Pavlovic is a better player currently than Karl, but I do think the 17-year-old has the potential to go much further than his midfield counterpart. In October 2025, Karl became the youngest goal scorer in Bayern Munich's Champions League history, breaking the record previously held by Jamal Musiala. He then went a step further, becoming the youngest player ever to score in 3 consecutive Champions League match days. Recognizing him as one of the top 2 players in his age group nationwide, Karl received the 2025 Silver Fritz Walter Medal, solidifying his status as the next big thing in German football after he dominated the under-17 Euro cycle with 7 goals in 10 games. In a squad containing Harry Kane, Michael Olise, Karl was voted FC Bayern Player of the Month by the fans in December 2025, a month where his clinical left foot secured vital points in both the Bundesliga and Europe. If you want to see more analysis of his profile, I'd once again have to implore you to check out my Breakout Stars of 25-26 video, because for now, we're just going to have to move on. Greece, Konstantinos Karetsas, KRC Genk. Greece has certainly not been an easy decision. Within the last couple of years, Greece has seen a massive influx of top-class youth prospects flood the footballing scene. This is largely down to the efforts of PAOK and Olympiacos, who have given us the likes of Christos Mouzakidis, Konstantinos Kolirakis, Karalampos Kostoulas, and Giannis Konstantilias. It's also important not to forget Stefanos Simas and Konstantinos Karetsas, who came up through Germany and Belgium respectively. Of those 6, my favorites are without a doubt Kostoulas, Mouzakidis, and Karetsas, and trying to pick one of those is a very, very difficult decision. However, assuming by how you're probably sick of me butchering Greek names, I'll save you some pain by sticking to butchering one, with that honor going to Konstantinos Karetsas. Operating mostly as a number 10 or right winger, the recently turned 18-year-old has been on fire for both club and country this season, picking up 2 goals and 11 assists in 24 starts for Belgian side Genk, with 3 and 1 across 5 starts for the Greek national team. This is all after a bid of reported 45 million euros from Arsenal fell through in the summer, with one wondering what a regret that could end up being for the Gunners, provided they don't go back in for him. Born in the city of his current club to Greek parents, his father is from Ceres and his mother from Athens. He grew up fully immersed in both cultures, spending every summer in Greece. He was a star for the Belgium youth setups, however, in March 2025, he officially chose to represent Greece. He famously told the media, "My heart beats only for Greece," making him an instant national hero before he even kicked a ball for the senior team. Hungary, Alex Toth, Bournemouth. I have to say, picking the player for Hungary was not an easy decision. That's because ever since Ben Starde followed in his brother's footsteps in declaring for the Hungarian national team, I would have almost always picked the German-born Wolfsburg man. However, following his ACL rupture in November, rolling him out till late July, a new man has broken onto the scene. Alex Toth. At 20 years old, Toth is a versatile, high-energy midfielder who excels in ball carrying and defensive determination. Before his departure, he was a standout for Ferencváros in the 2025-26 season, recording 25 appearances and 7 goal involvements across domestic play and European competitions. In January 2026, he completed a record-breaking €12 million move to Bournemouth, where he's already begun integrating into the squad with notable performances, including a significant 58-minute shift in a recent 2-1 victory over Everton. So the ultimate decision was between a very talented footballer, but a footballer who's only played 1 game this season and is yet to recover from a brutal injury, or a man whose trajectory has been nothing but upward recently. I chose the latter. Iceland. Ori Oskarsson, Real Sociedad. The striker currently playing the beautiful city of San Sebastian is the notable pick of a limited bunch from the contrasting, volcano-ridden island country of Iceland. But don't let the small population fool you. Oskarsson is a highly rated prospect around Europe, who cost the Spanish side a record-breaking €20 million from Copenhagen in late 2024. Standing at 6'1", Oskarsson took a while to find his feet in Spain, but it looks as though he's beginning to once again prove his clinicality that gave him such a high reputation in Copenhagen. After only scoring 3 goals in 23 appearances for the White and Blue in his debut campaign, Oskarsson is recently off the back of bagging 2 goals in back-to-back games against Elche and Alaves this February. On top of that, he's already the captain of his national team at 21, and it looks as though he's emerging as the undisputed heir to the Gudjohnsen throne, arguably being the most lethal pure number 9 the country has ever produced. Italy. Francesco Pio Esposito, Inter Milan. I've chosen Esposito because I think he's shown the biggest mix of promise and ability of anyone on this list. However, that's not to say the likes of Francesco Camarda, Pietro Comuzzo, Giovanni Leoni, and Michael Coyote, amongst others, aren't equally great options. Italy have been crying out for a top-class striker for what feels like decades now, since the likes of Alessandro Del Piero and Filippo Inzaghi, who defined the late 90s and early 2000s golden era. And with Esposito, they might just finally have one. Unlike striker compatriot Camarda, Esposito has broken into the first team of his respective Milan side, although Camarda is 3 years younger in fairness to the guy, but that's what gives him the edge. The 20-year-old striker has secured 11 starts and 21 sub appearances for Inter Milan so far this season, putting up 6 goals and 5 assists in the process. This has culminated in his first call-up to the Italian men's national team in August 2025, where he has so far made 5 appearances, scoring 3 goals in the process, including a debut strike against Estonia. Standing at 6'3", Esposito is the definition of a complete forward who combines an imposing and deceivingly quick physical presence with the technical elegance of a deep-lying forward. He excels at pitting central defenders and using his hold-up play to link the midfield to attack, often creating chances for teammate Lautaro Martinez. Beyond his strength, he's a dominant aerial threat and a clinical first-time finisher, making the rare complete package both for Inter Milan and the Azzurri. Ireland, Evan Ferguson, Roma. It's the same as it's always been with Ireland seemingly, with Evan Ferguson probably taking the spot for 4 years running if I had made this a series. Maybe it points to the start of a drought in what seemed like a golden generation for Ireland, given that despite Ferguson's failure to capitalize on his massive potential 2 or 3 years ago, Ireland still haven't managed to produce a better Wonderkid. Either way, if you asked me where I thought Ferguson was going to be in 2026 3 years ago, I definitely wouldn't have said warming the bench at Roma. But that goes to show what I know, doesn't it? Either way, the lad is still only 21 and has plenty of time to realize all that promise he is showing, but he's going to need to turn around his current trajectory quickly after the failure to take the number 9 spot from Danny Welbeck at Brighton, a catastrophic loan move to West Ham, and a lost starting spot on the national team to Troy Parrott. 5 goals and 2 assists for Roma in 22 appearances this season. Another season in the Serie A could be just what Ferguson needs to get back to where he belongs. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to Jason Malia, who at 18 might be the next genuine Irish Wonderkid, but I still go on Ferguson, whose progress by the age of 21 is still very impressive nonetheless. Kazakhstan, Dastan Satbayev, Kairat Dolmati. Okay, maybe the most dubious inclusion on this list for a geographical standpoint, Kazakhstan has a tiny little bit of its country technically in the borders of the European continent. Plus, it plays an older club in nation tournaments. So I'm just gonna include it. Anyways, the decision for Kazakhstan is as easy as ever, with the notable inclusion being Dastan Satbayev. Nicknamed the Baby Aguero, if you thought this guy is a hidden gem ready to be snapped up by your club, you'd be just as disappointed as I was when I found out that Chelsea have already secured his signature back in 2025 for a reported €4 million fee. Because of FIFA regulations, he has to remain at Kairat Almaty until his 18th birthday, but he'll be flying out to London in August this year. Satbayev is a bit of a phenomenon in Kazakh football, as by February 2026, he's already become Kazakhstan's youngest ever senior debutant at 16, Kazakhstan's youngest ever scorer, scoring against Belgium, of all teams, in World Cup qualifying, and one of the youngest scorers in Champions League history, aged 17 years and 3 months. He's just helped Kairat defend their title, scoring 14 goals and 7 assists in the process. He's a 5'9" pocket dynamite striker, and much like Sergio Aguero, he has a powerful lower body that allows him to shield the ball from much larger defenders. He's also genuinely two-footed. He scored a famous goal against Belgium using his weaker foot, quote-unquote, after a 30-yard solo run. The most valuable Kazakh in the world right now, the decision here was easy. So coming to the halfway point, I've actually decided to do this video in 2 parts, one for the first 25 and one for the second 25. I feel like I'll include this in the title, but either way, I'm sorry if you feel I've misled you, but I think it's the best choice to avoid this video being an hour long. So Kazakhstan is where we'll leave it today. Part 2 will be out very soon, where we'll pick up where we left off with Kosovo and finish the remaining 25 off. Thank you all for watching. If you've come this far, I'd usually appreciate a like or a comment. Hell, maybe even a subscription. Either way, hope you have a good rest of your day and stay tuned for part 2.